How's it going, Jack Tackers, and welcome back to another video for you guys. Today we are going to be continuing the Rocky Review-athon, where I try and review every Rocky movie leading up to Creed 3's release here in March. So we have 2 months to do this, and there's quite a lot of Rocky movies to go through. There are 8 in total, but anyways, today's movie we're talking about is Rocky 2, the first sequel to the original 1976 movie, and this movie came out in 1979 and is actually directed by Sylvester Stallone, which is pretty interesting. It's not directed by John G. Avildsen like the first one was, and John G. Avildsen actually does return to direct Rocky 5, but Sylvester Stallone directs this one. And let me just say first and foremost, this movie is, in my honest opinion, as good as the first film. And I know that might be a hot take. I'm not going to say it's better. I'm not going to say that. Do not get me wrong. I don't think it's quite, I don't think it's better than the original, but I think it's just as good as the original. And again, that might be a hot take, but holy moly, this movie's paced so incredibly well, maybe even paced better than the first movie. I mean, there's not too many dull moments in the first film. The first film's pretty fantastic, but I remember watching this and just being like, wow, there's so much stuff going on, and it just kind of bounces from scene to scene so quickly. This movie does not linger on stuff, and that is a good thing. But yeah, first and foremost, I just want to say I really love the movie. I really love the movie. I don't think that's a super hot take. I think people like this movie, but I don't think people like it quite as much as I do. Like, I think people definitely can distinguish, okay, the first one's without a doubt better, which I still think it is. But this one, I don't know. It's on the same level for me. But yeah, this movie's paced so well. Apart from maybe the opening sequence that's like about 7 minutes long, where it literally shows you the exact same footage. At least I think it's the same footage. Someone correct me in the comments if they refilmed it. I'm pretty certain they didn't. Or maybe they reshot some moments. I don't know for certain, but of course, let me know down in the comments if they did, and someone can correct me for sure. I'm sure someone will, but it's pretty much the exact same footage from the end of the last one, and I mean, it makes sense. You need to recontextualize what's happening. And this movie takes place immediately after the events of the first one, where now we have Rocky and Apollo going to the hospital after the fight, which is something I didn't really talk about in the first movie. I mean, I love the fights, and I guess while we're here, we'll talk about the fight scene between Apollo and Rocky in this movie, which, by the way, is fantastic. I absolutely love the fight scene with them in this movie. I mean, Apollo is angry. He's a sore loser a little bit, and he's a bit more villainous in this film compared to the first one. But again, I still wouldn't quite categorize Apollo as a villain. He's an antagonist. And yes, there is a difference. Antagonists, they can be good people deep down. Villains are villains. They're bad people. Apollo Creed's not a bad guy, but he definitely is a sore loser in this movie for sure. And he does have a bit more villainous tendencies. Not that much, though. I mean, really, this guy, he just wants a rematch. He makes fun of Rocky and calls him a chicken. That's pretty much the worst thing he does in this movie. Apollo's just a great character overall. And yeah, again, their fight scene in this movie is very good. And I felt like it was way longer than the first one. So they really, I said this movie doesn't linger. The one thing they do kind of linger on is the fight scene at the end of the film. And I'm glad they did, though, because the fight scene's spectacular. Apollo is angry. He's ready to fight Rocky. He's just going at it. And dare I say this fight scene was more intense than the original? I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's more intense than the original, but I absolutely loved it. And yeah, I was on the edge of my seat watching it, to be honest. And it's so great. And man, I absolutely adore it. But in terms of some negatives, I did say it does kind of the opening 7-minute sequence, which, I mean, this is a 2-hour movie, but the opening 7 minutes where it's literally the old footage. Did they need to show all of that? I don't know. But in terms of if this movie's trying to recapture the original in any way, shape, or form, I will say it kind of tries to recapture the original in the montage sequence. The montage sequence in this movie where Rocky's obviously training for the fight, running up the stairs, running and all over the place, and doing his Rocky shenanigans. the montage sequence is not as good in this movie. The original montage sequence is way better. Training sequence, I guess. Training montage, you know. When I say Rocky montage sequence, you all know what I'm talking about. But, you know, it was kind of cool in this movie, though, where you had the kids kind of running after him and following him. You know, I thought that was kind of wholesome and cute and whatever. So it was a bit different. They were trying to differentiate it a little bit from the original. But he literally runs up the stairs and throws his hands in the air again. I don't know. It's all good. That was the only moment in the movie where I thought, trying to recapture it a little bit. I do think it was funny, him chasing the chicken with Mickey, but yeah, that was kind of fun, a little bit different from the original, and that was all fine and dandy. But in terms of the stuff with Adrian in this movie, which is a good portion of the film, and I did talk about this in the original film review, where I said these movies aren't really boxing movies. They're just, you know, about Rocky, and he just happens to be a boxer. He likes to fight. And yeah, I mean, you can definitely feel that in this movie. I mean, this movie definitely has a lot of stuff with Adrian and Rocky's relationship. Obviously, they get married, they have a kid, and that's kind of how I was talking about earlier with the pacing in this movie. This film's paced so well because so much stuff happens in this movie, especially with Adrian and Rocky's relationship, and I just love it, though. I mean, they get a new house, and Rocky's struggling a little bit. He doesn't want to be a fighter anymore. There's a lot of stakes. Apparently, he might go blind, like, if he fight still. So that's another reason why the second fight with Apollo was way more intense. It was like, they're going to make Rocky go blind. I obviously didn't think that, really, but you never know. I mean, who knows? And then at one point I thought Adrian actually might have died when she slips into a coma, and that was super sad and just crazy, and I really liked it. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew Rocky at some point ends up being in the first Creed, so I knew Rocky wasn't going to die. But I was like, what happens to Adrian? So I don't know, whatever. At least in this movie, I didn't know what happened to Adrian. And so when she slipped into a coma, I was like, oh man, what's happening? And then I can't believe they had a kid. And I love the moment where Rocky asks for Adrian to marry him at the zoo. That was amazing, right in front of the tiger. That was honestly one of the best scenes in the movie. I really enjoyed that. And again, the relationship manages to be wholesome and just, a lot of good character drama. There's a lot of good character drama in this movie, especially as I mentioned briefly before, Rocky struggling for money and him not knowing if he wants to fight anymore. And some people say he's like kind of past his prime and making fun of him a little bit. And I thought that was all very interesting and something this movie tackles very well. And I just thought it was amazing, to be honest. And I really love this movie. It was super intense at moments, again, with the Apollo and Rocky fight. And yeah, again, overall, I would say it is as good as the original, in my opinion. I don't know. Again, that might be a hot take, but I really loved it. And it's really good. I mean, wow. I really enjoyed it. But of course, let me hear your thoughts on this movie down in the comments below. Do you enjoy this movie as much as I do? I checked Letterboxd. It has like a 3.6 rating, so that's pretty good, but not as good as the first one. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts on this movie down in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.